I'm gonna cut right to the chase. Go see The Northman. Greetings, adventurers. My name is Kramer. I'm a medieval and fantasy enthusiast and a prospective young actor, and it gives me great joy to be able to tell you that The Northman is a wonderful film. I'm doing this review spoiler-free. Do not ruin the tension for yourself. Just go and see it, and stick around to the end of the video if you want to hear my thoughts on the future of film and cinema. I have not been excited for a new film, in a very long time. I semi-count Avengers Endgame. That had a lot of hype and a lot of nostalgia for it, but that was a movie. The Northman is a film. It is true cinema. It is art, and art isn't nice. Not everybody is going to like it. It's not for everyone, and that is okay. It's beautiful, in fact, because it means that it's not trying to be anything other than it is. It is not trying to pander to a wide audience. It is just The Northman. In light of the terrible direction that Amazon seems to be taking their new show, The Rings of Power, and in the face of the barrage of fantasy-style TV shows all competing to be the next Game of Thrones, The Northman was an engaging and unexpected breath of fresh air, a cause for great hope in the medieval genre. It is well written, it is incredibly well acted, shot on beautiful landscapes and set pieces that actually exist in the real world, and even though it's based off of a legend, of a saga, not real history, it is incredibly historically accurate. Painstakingly so. They set out to tell a good story, they put the story and the world above everything else, and they just slaughtered it. And that is a good thing, a very good thing, because Viking, you get it. The only thing I will say in regards to the story, and I don't really consider this a spoiler because it's how the film opens up, is that The Northman follows the story of Amleth, a Viking prince, who was the inspiration for Shakespeare's Hamlet. And this film is written like a play, a very well-written play. And it's not chocked full of doths and thines. In fact, I don't know that there are any of those at all. So it's not as if it's difficult to understand, but the language that they choose is just different enough from the way that we speak that it carries a level of weight. There are no "are you all right, are you okay" sort of lines in what's supposed to be taking place in a 10th century story. The language, the dialogue is just enough. It is epic, it is poetic, and it's so well acted that sometimes they don't even need to say anything at all. And for those of you who know me, we will all be happy to know that the accents in The Northman are very good, and they actually mean something. They're not just random personality traits. It's not like some fantasy or medieval style shows or movies where it's in the past, so everyone just like speaks with a British accent. Characters have accents that are supposed to mirror where it is that the character is from, not just what would be cool if the character sounded like it. But the real treat has nothing to do with the accents. It's that this movie isn't all in English. The characters speak the languages that they're supposed to speak. Towards the end of the film, both Anya Taylor-Joy and Alexander Skarsgård both have shorter monologues in the languages of their characters, and it's just so powerful to hear these brilliant actors delivering these lines in sounds that I've never heard before. It's literally like hearing the elves actually speak Elvish, except you're hit by the fact that these are real languages that real people speak in our world. To just hear the different sounds delivered in love or in anger or in anguish, fury, was just beautiful. Speaking of the elves, this film reminded me of The Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's trilogy, okay? Not Amazon's. But it wasn't trying to be Lord of the Rings. It wasn't trying to be Game of Thrones or anything else. It is just The Northman. It is unapologetically what it is. And the film itself doesn't care whether or not you get it. It doesn't care if you like it. It just exists. That, I think, is what made Lord of the Rings and the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones so successful, is that they didn't care if they were successful. They just wanted to tell a good story, and The Northman follows that very brave path. I believe they shot most of the film in Belfast, which is where Game of Thrones was also filmed. But like Lord of the Rings, they have these beautiful, wide vista shots of this vast, incredible landscape as some of the characters are traveling across. And there's also one point in the movie where some gentlemen are forging a sword. They're really forging a sword on camera, which I appreciate. But it reminded me of how the elves reforged the shards of Narsil. And I don't know for a fact that that imagery was purposefully reminiscent of Peter Jackson's films, but I'd be really surprised if it wasn't. The level of detail and care that got put into the costumes and the set design also reminded me of The Lord of the Rings, specifically watching the making of The Lord of the Rings and the appendices, where they put all of these details in that no one will ever notice, that the camera won't even pick up, but they put it in anyway because they knew it had to be there. They did the same level of work for the Northman. And as Ethan Hawke says, he played Arvandil, the Raven King. Each detail in and of itself doesn't matter, but 1,000 details has a gravitational pull towards excellence. That's a really good quote from him. It really inspires me, and it's just so true. The costumes and the set designs were researched to the point where I don't even think there's anything that I can add other than just praising the fact that they did it. And I appreciate that so much, and I'm sure you do too. And I don't care if that makes us nerdy. I don't care if other people laugh at us, because who cares? It's just a film. I love to see it. And as far as I could tell, they were using completely historically accurate materials, cuts, and styles. If you watch that making of, they talk about how every piece from this film could easily be used in a museum when they were done filming it. That's how accurate they were. Of course, maybe you have to take that with a grain of salt because they're the ones who made the movie, so of course they'd say that they did a good job, but to my eye, I think that they really did. No one was just wearing piles of pelts over top of them because, oh, we're Vikings or whatever. They were using fur to trim their gloves, fur to trim the lining of their cloaks and their hoods, but no one just had piles of fur on. I think Fjolnir was wearing more of a fur capelet, but he only wears it for a couple of seconds. The Berserkers, the bear shirts, wear wolf pelts as part of their ritual, as they're getting into their Berserker rage, and then also as camouflage, but they take them off before they fight. Everything just makes sense. There is even one character with a horned helmet that he only wears for a special ceremony. They know. They know, of course they know these things. Look at the list of people that worked on this film. They are from Viking heritage. They're telling the story of their people. Of course they got it right. It would be odd if they had gotten it wrong. I don't ever approach a film wanting to be able to correct it. I hope that when I sit down, I can think, oh, these guys know their stuff. I am way out of my depth. I have so much more that I can learn about now because I watched this film. And the Northman just seriously delivers in this regard. The level of pride and dedication that they had to historical accuracy, chef's kiss. The combat too was also very well grounded. The more outlandish stuff was still realistic, believable, and taken from other Norse sagas, as I found out later. For the most part, characters with shields actually use them, and they hold them properly, and the only reason that they don't sometimes is if they are injured and they physically can't lift the shield, they're exhausted. But the fight choreography helps tell the story. It's very grounded. They're attacking with their shields, they're defending with them, they're getting into the bind, and it's just dramatic enough to also have that flair. There's even one scene where something is happening in the foreground, but in the background you can hear the dialogue of some people sparring, and they're telling one of the fighters that he needs to keep his shield up, and he says, I am. And then the scene ends and it becomes apparent that he wasn't, because the scene ends with him like on the ground, the spears pointed at him. I thought that was a really neat thing to include. The cinematography was gorgeous, masterful. It helps to tell the story, and on my second viewing I was starting to notice more and more parts of scenes where I was like, wait, how is the camera there? How did it move through? There should be a person standing where the camera is now, and there's these huge long tracking shots. Entire scenes were done only with one shot, and the camera work is just really impressive. There are entire fight scenes with 0 cuts, and things are happening in the background. That takes an immense amount of planning. That takes a lot of skill as a director. And the camera perspective also helps tell the story as well, because these figures are from a saga. They are legendary, larger than life hero figures. And Alexander Skarsgård is already 6'4". He is a big guy, but both he and Fjolnir, they look just massive when you watch it. At least in theaters they do, because they film most of the shots with the camera being at like belt buckle height rather than at head height. So when you're watching it in a movie theater, you have to look all the way up to the top third of the screen in order to look at their eyes. They just look bigger than absolutely everybody else. I think this film was also filmed with one camera and on film, not digital. That doesn't get done a whole lot anymore. I believe the budget is also estimated to be between $60 and $90 million. That is nothing compared to what other people are spending on their movies. Explain to me why we should continue giving TV shows, subpar generic TV shows, a pass when they have 4 times the budget of this movie. Where is all that money going? It's not going to hire incredibly competent directors like Robert Eggers, I can tell you that much. We're getting off topic. The music was epic. I want the soundtrack, I want to listen to it in the car. It was very smartly written, not just catchy, but smartly written. The scenes cut well with it. It mirrors the imagery of what it is that you're seeing in ways that maybe you wouldn't expect. And it's not leitmotifs. It's not like Howard Shore with Lord of the Rings, at least as far as I could tell on my second viewing. I might notice leitmotifs the more that I watch it, but it doesn't have to be leitmotifs in order to be good. It built the atmosphere, it helped tell the story. It was just good. It was just really good. I don't know if you can tell that I'm excited. I would watch 4 hours of The Northman. It is currently 2 hours and 17 minutes in theater, and I wasn't bored for a second of it. The first time I saw it, I sat down, I had my notebook with the intention of taking notes if I needed to, because I knew I was gonna make a video on it. And not even 10 minutes into the film, I put the notebook down and went, oh, this is gonna be really good. I cannot look away. I have to just enjoy this. And I did. 2 hours did not feel like 2 hours. I didn't even get up to go to the bathroom because I was so afraid of missing something. The Northman is well paced, it's engaging, and I felt for the characters. I emotionally connected with them. I wanted them to succeed. I was afraid for them. I can't think of any films in recent memory in the medieval or Viking genre that have managed to do that. Until The Northman, recent medieval movies haven't managed to quite nail both historical accuracy and telling a good story. The story is the most important thing. Historical accuracy is always a bonus, but the story is the important thing. That's what gets me excited. The Outlaw King was fun, but I'd rather watch Braveheart because the emotional stakes in that film were more compelling to me. Braveheart is laughably historically inaccurate, and as I remember it, The Outlaw King was more historically accurate. But that's the thing, I don't remember The Outlaw King. I will probably never watch it again and feel nothing for it. That's nothing against anyone who worked on the film. I just don't remember it. Same thing for The King with Timothée Chalamet. It was more historically accurate, if I'm remembering correctly, but it was just an unmemorable film. And I really wanted to see The Last Duel because I like Adam Driver and his work, but I just didn't hear good things about it, either from a story perspective or from the historical standpoint. But if you watched it and you think that I would enjoy it, comment down below because I will take the time to do it. But The Northman successfully does both, where it is both an incredibly historically accurate film and also the story is so good. It's simple, it's easy to follow, there's not complex time jumps and stuff like that, there's no gimmicks. It's just a good story. So go watch the film, go watch it. Go watch The Northman. If you want a good story, if you want a good Viking story, go see The Northman. 100% endorsement on my part. I made sure to see it a second time to ensure that I wasn't falling for hype or something like that or just getting overexcited. I enjoyed it just as much the second time as I did when I watched it the first time. I very much look forward to watching it again, and then hopefully when the director's cut or an extended edition comes out, I really hope they do that, I will enjoy watching it then too. I am now going to talk about politics in the entertainment industry and how I see the future of cinema going forward. If you liked my video on the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, I imagine you've seen it. Probably that's how you were introduced to my channel if you're newer. If you don't want to talk about politics, just go watch The Northman. You will be happy to know that there's no modern politics in The Northman. None. It's not injected anywhere. None of our modern world problems or thoughts are in this film. There's no forced casting. There's no out of place or unbelievable fight choreography where someone that's like, you know, my size or 100 pounds beats a very accommodating stunt performer that's 6'4". There's no references to anything in the modern day to push any sort of message.
And you aren't evil or a bad person if you liked the film. It's a good film.
There is no historical criticism that I feel I am qualified to make on this film. I am sure that there are other more knowledgeable people than me here on the platform who are going to be able to point some things out. And it's always good to learn new things, and I enjoy those videos. But I want to say this. Let's just take the win on this one. It's a compelling, non-political story with a team that clearly made a tremendous effort towards historical accuracy, and it shows when you watch the film. Voting with your wallet is not just refusing to spend money on things that you don't like. We should also be actively and vocally supporting the things that we do. If we want to see a change, if we want to help make a difference, then it is necessary to support this film and the people that made it, to show them that we appreciate their work and that we want more, that there is a market for this film, and to show other companies that there is a market for this film and that it is safe for them to make movies like The Northman. Not just monetarily safe, that they're going to recoup their losses, but socially safe, that they're not just going to get canceled, because we will be there to support them. But even more important than the companies, it's important that we show other people that it's okay to like The Northman. That is how we turn this around. Complaining is just really not enough. We have to actually do something. So let's do something positive and just support a good film. That is the long game. If we can ensure that The Northman succeeds and that it sits at the high table with other great movies that we enjoy, then we have accomplished our task. Lord of the Rings is immortal. It is timeless and it bows to no one. I'm not saying that The Northman is at that level yet. It hasn't been around long enough. I'm not going to give it that much praise. I'm not going to simp for The Northman, but let's give it the fair shot that it deserves. To nitpick at it at this point would be nothing less than short-sighted. We need to be united on this. It's easy to get a little fatalistic about it when we continue to see genres that we like, franchises that we like, continue to get stepped on. But art still exists. The Northman proves that. Movies like this still are getting made. Be hopeful for that. It's not just commercialized CGI, politically correct nonsense pandering to the lowest common denominator. This is a good film. This is the type of movie that I pray that I have the privilege to be part of one day, and there is hope for the medieval genre. And for me personally as a young actor, that I might still have the opportunity to be part of something beautiful and be hired because of my talent and not because I have the right political opinions. I just want to tell good stories, and I don't care who it's with. Please support this movie and the people who made it. Go see it in theaters. It's not for everyone, but it is for you. So support this movie. Go see The Northman. You just heard me speak very passionately about a movie that I really liked. If you'd like to hear me speak very passionately about a TV show that I didn't, you can go ahead and check out these videos. And in the meantime, I'd like to wish you good luck on your adventures.